Hi, this is Nancy McClelland, and this video is for Scrap Mania. I'm going to give you some instructions on how to put together and make the quad pop-up book. The quad pop-up book that we have for our class has Where the Wild Things theme on there. But the instructions I'm going to give you are going to be the basic instructions to put together the whole pop-up quad, and then you can decorate it any way you want to. So to start with, for this book, to make the base quad pop-up book, you need 4 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock. I find the cardstock that works best is something that is of the Basel quality, and this has a little bit of texture to it. I've even found that the texture in there does help when it comes to scoring and folding. I don't find any cracking involved when I'm making the book, so that's one thing. So to make the base of the book, you need 4 of these 12 by 12s. Then you can decorate the book kind of however you would like to with different kinds of papers. So the instructions that you also have is that on this, we're going to score all the way down line A, which would be 6 inches. So 6 inches and there's 6 inches. So we're dividing it in half. Then we're going to flip it and we're going to score again. So what's going to happen is you've scored down at the 6 inch, across at the 6 inch. We have 4 6 by 6 quadrants. Then we're going to make one of these quadrants is going to have a diagonal score on that. And we're also going to need to make a cut up to one of the folds. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So to begin with, I am just going to score at the 6 inch line. And I usually score my paper, like I'm not pushing super hard, but I've gone down there a couple of times just to reinforce it. I flipped my paper around, and now I'm scoring it one more time. I'm scoring it again. Okay. So it's difficult for you to see, but I have scored that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to reinforce those score lines. Trying the best I can to make everything as square as possible. That's one thing that I have found, that trying to be as accurate as you possibly can to make this book go together. So now I folded it back and I am creasing that score line. So now I have this piece of paper is scored. Now what I also do is I usually fold it into that 6 by 6, and that way I can reinforce those. I will unfold it and kind of go back and do it again. I'm just trying to make sure that all these score lines have been scored, and we're giving it the best flexibility that we possibly can. Okay, so now we've got that. Now in order to get this last diagonal here, I basically, on this piece of paper, it shows that I'm going to cut up that scored line to the cross point. Okay, and I think this is the easiest way to do it. Is you can use scissors, you can use a trimmer, however you want to do it. You could get out a straight edge and a ruler, and I have now taken and I have cut that up. Now I'm going to flip this page back, and we have something that looks basically like an arrow or an airplane. I need to score this diagonal. So what I have found is the easiest is for me to lay it in my trimmer and score down. Now I have taken just the 7 inch. It was easy for me. I'm going to put the point at the 7, and where this point, where this intersection is, I'm going to put it at the opposite end and score. This is just a pencil that I put in there so that I could see the continuation of the line. I do that quite a bit if there's something I need, but this was easy for me. So I have the point at the 7. I'm aligning this point down here. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to just score that. And I'll do it a couple of times. Now this particular piece does need to fold up when we put the book together, so I just fold it up Everything's still together. I'm looking to make sure that I've got everything relatively square, and I'm going to reinforce that. Okay? So now this is what we have. Okay? What's eventually going to happen is these will come up and make this particular look. Okay? So we will need 4 of those. So to recap, we scored, and then we made sure that everything was folded and we creased everything. We made this cut up here to the folded line. For just ease and for me, I folded that back, and then I was able to crease this. Now, again, you could fold it back and try folding it if you don't have a scoreboard, but again, using a scoreboard really helps you make sure that you've got good, I think, corners, good angles, good lines. So we need 4 pieces like this, okay? I have gone ahead and I have done 4 pieces. And I did these 4 pieces, and you can see they have black lines. Those are only for the video. The reason why I did this was that I was having a difficult time for you seeing the creases on the video. So I kind of made a prototype for you. So I have those 4 pieces right there. Now, there's an X on here. What's going to happen is we are going to build 4 pieces that look like this, where these come up and they go together. We will need to secure these 2 pieces. I do it this way. It's probably because I'm right-handed that I did it. You could do it the other way around, but I put an X on there so that I know that that's where my tape's going to go. I suggest you use something like an ATG gun. If you are a liquid person, you could use liquid. It's just going to take you a little longer probably for it to set up. Or you could use score tape. It doesn't make any difference. I'm going to move my scoreboard. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use an ATG gun, and I am going to basically glue these pieces together. And again, I just put the X there as a demonstration, but also if you feel that you need to make a note and that that's something good for you, that's what you should do. And you're trying to make this as good as you possibly can, make it square. I sometimes, just kind of hold it up to make sure if you're using score tape or you're using ATG that you're getting the best square that you possibly can out of that when you're putting it together. So this is our first piece. Now I'm going to construct the other 3. Again, I think that you need to figure out the best way for you to do this. And as I said, I'm right-handed, so it was natural, I guess, to do that, but you could always do it the other way. And again, if it's easier for you to set this up like this and lay it down, you could do that. I just find it's easier for me to somewhat hold it in the air so I can push it in there, and then I can make sure that my corners are pretty straight and I can put it down. And like if I've got a little bit of overage in here, if it isn't completely square, I could trim a little bit of this out. That will be on the bottom of it, but again, I don't want to take too much because then it'll show up a little later. But you can inspect all your pieces to see how they line up, okay? So now there's that one. I have 2 more to go. I think once you figure this out, it's pretty easy. I'm not very straight there. Okay. Just want to get that as close as I can. And this also helps me make sure that it's kind of standing straight So you just need to figure out the best way it is for you to make them and put them together as square as possible. And that's why I said sometimes people like to use the liquid glue because they get that extra buy time and they can move it around. But understand, probably if you're going to use the liquid, you'll have to maybe just let it sit and make sure that it's together. I do have another suggestion for that, which would be binder clips, which I'll kind of use a little bit of them, but they're not totally necessary. Okay, this one is a little off. I may not have gotten it completely together. I'm going to trim just a little bit of that, just to make it a little easier. I don't want to make it too far off, but I'll make it a little easier. Okay, so now I hope you can see we have 4 of these now that are identical. Okay, and this is kind of the puzzle it needs to be, because these all need to be on the bottom. And if I were to pick this up, okay, they'll all function and they'll go together like a book. Okay, so they're all sandwiched. So that's the most important thing, is that when you build this, is all of those triangle pieces are on the bottom of it. Okay, so that's the book. Now we need to put the ribbon. If you want a ribbon, we need to put the ribbon in there. So what will happen is we will have a book that's something like this, and this will pretend these are our fronts and our backs. Okay, so this is what is connected when you put the book together. Okay, so if I do that, I want the ribbon to come out here so that I can wrap it around. So what I typically do is I will put these two, I lay them like this. I'll put this here and this here. I will fasten these two together, then I'll fasten these two together. And when these two need to go together, that's where I put the ribbon in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this down. I am now going to take my ATG gun and I'm going to put my tape on there. And now that I've turned it around several times, you need to make sure that it's going to open up the right way. So what I'm going to do is pull this one up. I know that this is the way it is. I'm going to put these two together like this. And again, make sure your bottom and your side are as square as they can be. And that those two pieces are together. Okay? Now these two need to go together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this one down. I'm going to put, again, my tape on here. Now I've turned it several times again, so I need to kind of open it up to make sure that I have this at the right space. So I'm going to now close it, and I'm going to take this one and close it, and they're going to go together. Okay. I've got my fingers in there, just making sure, getting down on my head. So there. So now, that's together. So we have two pieces that look just alike. So now what I need to do, and this might be helpful, I don't know, I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to put a binder clip there. I'm going to close this one up, and I'm going to put a binder clip over here. It also helps me remember what I want to do. Now, I don't have a pencil. Let me just grab a pencil, and then maybe at this point, so you've got these together, maybe it's you basically just put a line there that those are the two sides that go together. This is where your ribbon's going to go. So it's just a reminder once you've done that that's what's going to happen to that. So I usually get 36 inches of ribbon. It doesn't make any difference. This particular piece of ribbon I've got here, and it's going to go into the book, because what's going to happen is these guys are going to go together. So it's going to go, it doesn't make any difference which side, but it's going to fasten in there so that when this one goes here, you take the ribbon and you wrap it around. Okay? So there we have that. You can fasten this ribbon any way you want. Okay? What I'm going to do is you can add any type of score tape. You could use a larger piece of score tape. I have one, I think, that's like a 1/2 inch I usually use, but I knew that it was going to be easier for me to just take this and tear this tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that, and it's pretty close to in the middle, okay, at that point. And I folded my ribbon in half, and I'm just putting enough ribbon in there that it's going to stay. So there's my ribbon. I also put a tiny bit of adhesive just there. It's a liquid. You could use score tape again. Sometimes I just put the liquid that'll hold it. Another thing I do is I will come through and I will tear some additional tape just to hold this down. It may be overkill. It just helps me, because that way when I do this, I know that I've got this pretty much edge to edge. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take that tape off, this off. Okay, now we have secured this. It's ready to go. We're going to basically put these two pieces together. So I can take this off, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my tape and I am going to put tape all the way around the edge of it. And I usually do it through the center. Now, another thing that I do is I will take some liquid adhesive, and I will also take some liquid, and you could use any liquid, but I put it on this edge here just because there's a lot pulling on that edge, okay? Now, we already decided these two go this way. Okay, if you aren't sure, look at them again and see to make sure this is standing up this way, this is that way. So there's your point. So the points need to be on this end, okay? And that's what I had done with that. So I'm going to place these two guys here together. I'm trying to match up the side, and I'm matching up the bottom of it. Okay, and we've got that put together. Now, I'll show you, but what's going to happen when we open this up. Now, this is what we have. Okay, the book is put together. These will come around, and they will tie for your book. So the book has been put together like that. Now, what I typically do to reinforce this particular seam, and just to make sure, I'll use some binder clips here, just putting them on the edge. That way I'm helping support that. I have another one. I could actually just pull the ribbon down here and just support that. So I let that sit just to know that the glue, everything has set up and that it's ready to go. So we've made the book. This is it. It's ready to decorate. Now, I'm not sure if this is something that you think it's easier to do this way or not. But again, this would be the piece that we don't need. If we're following again, if you can see that there's how this is working, is this doesn't have crease lines covered on there. But whether you think it's easier to decorate this like this is totally up to you. I've decorated them all when they're made into book form. But you will need, these are 6x6 squares. So if I typically make these 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. The only reason why is I like that little bit of an edge. If you don't want that edge, then just use a 6x6 piece and everything will go directly, you know, full edge to edge, no border in there. So when you're doing this and you have paper that has a direction, you do need to be cautious of the point that when this is put together like this is a directional pattern, this is a directional pattern. If we fold these up, okay, that's going to be what you're going to see when you're in the book. So that's the correct way. So that's the only thing about doing it this way before you put the book together, that it might be something of confusion, that if you're just putting the things down there, to make sure that you're getting them in the book the way they need to go in the book, okay? So I have a blue book that's been put together and it's been cured and it's ready to go. So when you're putting this book together, you will need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces to cover the big 6x6 areas in the book. Then you also need something for the outside, and you can put 6x6s, you can decorate it up, do half sheets, you could do whatever you wanted to do. So if you're going to get, you know, 4 6x6s out of a 12x12 piece of paper, you are going to need, for these 8, 2 pieces of some type, okay? But then you also need to have something for the 4 pieces that are on the triangle fold up. So that would make it an additional 12x12. So then you still have the front covers. So the best for me to go is you need 4 pieces of cardstock and 4 decorative pieces of paper. That way you're going to be able to get, you know, all of that out of the 12x12. You'll have a little left over. I like to pick up the ephemera packs. I like to pick up some of the sticker packs, anything that you can. What I chose to kind of show you today, though, too, was I picked up a 6x6 paper pad. Okay, this 6x6 paper pad, I kind of pre-selected some of my pictures for you, I mean, some of my things. And in the 6x6 paper pad, it actually has some of these little cut-aparts in different sizes, which I could decorate my pages. I could do something with those. There's extra paper. I also kept all of the little pieces that I cut off because I made them 5 3/4. So those make good border pieces if you want to do that. So what I would do with this particular piece is I look at the paper, I see what we've got on there that is, you know, like decorative, how I can use that. And what I'm going to do with this piece here is I'm just going to put it, I'm giving myself an even border all the way around, and I've put that piece there. So the checks are directional, and that was an easy one. And then what I try to do is mix them up a little bit so not everything is back to back. But I'm going to put this piece in here. Another thing which is kind of fun is I've put a butterfly. I think this example's at the store. I put a butterfly and cut it in the middle so that it went up. Or if you had words or something, you could do that so that maybe you see that sitting up. But you would just continue to decorate your pages. Again, Dot Runner would work to put this part together, I think, fine. A lot of times I can just take and lay this down, and I'm at least getting, you know, my book somewhat level. But if you feel that, and again, if you put the X and you're very cautious if you have directional papers, so that one would go there and this one go here. Another thing that you could do with your, to lay this out, is use binder clips to kind of keep the paper in there to see where it's going to go. So you could lay your papers out. You can put them in just like I have this pack here, which has got the pink So a lot of times I'll look at my papers, I'll cut them, I'll look around. There's these flowers, there's that there. So I don't have the, you know, the same thing. Here's one that maybe I chose to put I put the pink on the inside. This is some little clouds and umbrellas there. And then we'll use the bees. So I'm just running everything around here and I'm building the book, and then I can decorate it. So we're not as much about decorating for this. I just want to show you that this is what the book looks like and how you can put it together and what makes it easy for you to put together, and that hopefully the instructions I've given you are self-explanatory. And again, the biggest part of this is keeping everything square, you know, scoring, then cutting up to the score, and then making this diagonal. So hopefully that is helpful, that you just need the 4 pieces. Most important is to remember that that upward flap goes there. And if you want ribbon in it, how you have to add the ribbon to that. So there we are. You can see the creases on this one a little better because I put black lines on them. And hopefully that's explanatory. If you have any questions, you can call the store, 319-377-9999. Or you can call me directly, that's Nancy, 319-533-5984. Or you can email me, nancy@designinventions.com. So all that information is in your packet, but I hope you enjoy putting these books together as much as I did. It was great fun. You just have so many ideas when you get started making them. So have a great time. Call if you have any questions. Thanks.